Is meditation really necessary? That's what we're going to try and find out today. Merry meet everyone, or merry meet again. I'm Witch Hazel, and on this channel I try to bring together the practical, hands-on side of witchcraft with the often more difficult to comprehend and pin down spiritual side of things for all of us who may be feeling a bit of a disconnect between our practice and our spirituality. So we're going to fill in the gap here. And today I wanted to chat about meditation because this seems to be the great debate in life. There are just about all spiritualists will tell you meditation is essential to gaining a deeper spiritual knowledge, deeper spiritual practice. However, then there are also those who will advocate it's not necessary. You can do your own thing, you can cast your spells, you can manifest, you can do whatever you do to get where you want to go. Goal setting is another one for people who are not on the spiritual path and are dead set on you can achieve anything if you just set goals. Then the question is, well, why meditation, and what's the purpose really? Well, my idea on this is that meditation, like anything else, is a tool. So the tool is not important. The route, how you get there, is not important. What is important in this scenario is deepening your connection with the divine. And the reason we want to do that is because when we have that active connection with spirit, with the divine, that is when we enhance our own creative ability and we see miracles start to happen. We see our life starting to unfold in the way that we want it to. Because there's only so much we can do by sheer will. The rest of it has to come through divine intervention, essentially. And we are all capable of that. And meditation is just one way of reaching that. But let me look at my notes here. Now, the problem that I find with this idea of meditation is that meditation is often, I think, misunderstood as a specific activity when it actually refers to a state of mind. It is an activity that gets you into a state of mind, but that state of mind is, again, the important thing. The activity of getting there can be different depending on who you talk to. So if we look at the word meditation as being in this state of mind where we are connected to the divine, then the trouble is we are misinterpreting what came before it. How did we get from point A to point B? The people who have the biggest issue with this, I think, are Westerners. Western Europe, United States, Canada, etc. We have the biggest problem with this because we typically are not raised with any sort of activities that will help us get into this mindset. In the East, especially from what I've seen of videos from people in India, it seems like, and books that I've read, Yogananda is a big one, it seems like it's more of an everyday practice for more people to get into this meditative state of mind. It's something you learn in childhood, apparently. Well, Westerners don't have that. The closest thing we have is maybe if you were raised with religion and got into prayer as a child. That can have the same function. But again, it all depends. And this is not something that we're really trained on ever. The reason that I want to say meditation as we think of it, as that activity where we're sitting still and we have to quiet the mind and not think of anything and everything must be blank, that activity I don't think is necessary. And remember, I am separating that activity that we tend to call meditation with the end result of being in a meditative state of mind. This end result is what I am calling meditation. Well, how we get there can vary. And the reason I believe that to be true is because all of the spiritual speakers, even the Eastern spiritualists, they agree that when you get to a certain level of proficiency with your meditative state, you can get into that state quickly and you can operate in that state even though to the outside world you are looking just as though you're going through your everyday activities. So at some point after you reach a certain proficiency, you can go about your daily routine in this altered meditative state of mind. The thing is, we have to learn how to get there. So I think whatever activity you can do to help you get there is beneficial. And it does not have to be sitting in a corner making your mind blank. So what other options do we have? Well, certain Western authors have attempted to adapt the traditional activity for Westerners. So instead of sitting completely still, sitting in a certain position and things like that, you have authors like Jose Silva in, I believe it was the 60s when he first published his book, I could be off on that, who advocate still that sitting or relaxing type of posture and getting into the meditative state of mind, but he's not specific about you must be totally still. Obviously, if that's the case, then it can still work if you're not completely still. The same thing goes for any sort of moving meditation. If you have ever walked a labyrinth, done a moving meditation that way, or I've heard people say the same about Tai Chi, which I've never tried, but I imagine it could work as well. My experience on something similar would just be the walks that I take. I very often get into this type of altered state of mind, I guess you could say, when I'm out walking. So that's movement-based. So that can work for this process. I'm going to go on with how to kind of meld these ideas of maybe not, if you're having a difficult time doing the sitting still activity to get into meditative state of mind, I'm going to offer some other options. But first, I want to go into the benefits of meditation. And before I do that, actually, I'm going to say one more thing, which is that if you have struggled to build up to finding this meditative state, maybe you've tried different ways to meditate, maybe you've tried the more active types of activities, I have something else that you might want to give a try. And this is a link in the description. It is my brand new freebie that I have for you. It's a 4-step guide to building your intuitive power. And the reason I think this would be helpful is because it essentially gets to the same goal of building your connection with the divine, but it does so in a more activity-based way. Essentially journaling, thought process, that sort of thing. So if you want to give that a try, that is designed for you to be able to see movement, see change and improvement within 30 days or so. I would say it's free, give it a shot, see if that helps you to get toward where you want to be with getting to the meditative state of mind. On to our benefits of meditation. I do think there are some distinct benefits. First, I think we put too much emphasis on the practice itself as being the important thing. We have to remember that meditation is not unnatural for us. We go through altered states of mind at least twice every day, when we fall asleep and when we wake up. So it is a completely natural thing to be in this altered state. but we treat it as though it's not. We treat it as though it's something special when we try to meditate. Where I think the more important focus is for the activity of meditation, what it is a discipline. It's a discipline to teach ourselves how to actively go through these states of mind. We go through them anyway, every day. It doesn't matter if we're trying or not, but the thing is, if we want to develop the ability to purposely go into different states of mind for a particular reason, for a particular goal, we have to train that. We have to practice that. And this is where meditation comes in. The activity of getting to that altered state is a discipline. And the purpose of a discipline is to get something down so well that it becomes like muscle memory, that it becomes so innate that we don't have to worry about what's going on around us. The whole world could be blowing up, but we have the ability, we know that we do, to get into that altered state and to accomplish what we need or want to accomplish. So that is the importance of this practice. It's not really the altered state itself, because that we do all the time. The second thing is, and this is why we tend to get into it in the first place, is once we have the ability to get into that altered state of mind at will, essentially, that means that we can connect to the divine at will. We can all day, every day, maintain this connection and know that we can accomplish anything and everything because of this connection to divine energy. So that's the second benefit. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do as an alternate to that activity of sitting still and getting our mind to go blank. When I started out in witchcraft, I remember a meditation exercise that involved essentially the same thing, sitting in a quiet space and trying to have the mind go blank. But the difference in this exercise was that we would set up a candle somewhere across the room, and you would focus on that candle. And that, I think, now that exercise didn't work for me either, because I just don't like sitting still. That exercise did not work for me. However, I have noticed that I do something similar, and I didn't realize this until I ran into someone else who does the exact same thing. She had the exact same complaint that she wants to meditate more, but her mind is too busy. She's constantly thinking of things and she can't sit still. So she started talking to me about going on walks. Remember my favorite activity, going on walks, and being caught up by something. She'll see something that catches her attention and she will focus on that. And that focus is then what allows her to calm and get into that altered state of mind. Well, I had an aha moment while I was talking to her when I realized, oh, yeah, I guess I've been doing the same thing all this time. Because I remember that even from childhood, my thing was I was always, what do you call that? The space cadet. Always staring out the window. I could stare out the window or staring off into space. But I would always be looking at something, but the idea is that something caught my attention, and then I was able to, I guess, clear out my mind that way, or there would be a particular thought that came in for me to work through and work on. And that is what I would deem that meditative state, because in every case, there was a different feeling to it. I did not feel as though I knew I was still in my everyday surroundings, but the mind feels different. I don't know any better way to explain it, but the mind does feel different. Then I started thinking about my walks, and it was the same thing. If I'm walking through the park and something, maybe a flower or an animal, you know, we've got lots of bunnies go running off, or birds or something. I like to watch the ducks in the pond. I go and I watch the ducks, and they're doing their little pinwheel in the water. And I can get so caught up in that I don't see the ducks anymore. But you know, it's almost like you drop into this other state of mind. I would advocate something like that. If there is another activity that allows you to still get the movement in, that, you know, if you're restless, get the movement in, but that, you know, at some point you're going to start to focus on something else, take note of that. Take note if you start to feel like you've dropped into a different kind of awareness. If anybody out there has a better way to explain this, please put it in the description, because I have a feeling I am not being clear. But that is the best I can come up with. So the idea is, if you can recognize some activity like that, which you do, which gets you to that state that you are looking for, then you can try to almost mimic it in something like, maybe you come home and then you try that candle exercise. Or if you dance, I've heard of this before too, when I was back in my dancing days, using dance as a moving meditation and getting into a different state of mind that way. So that's another option. But experiment with different things. Find something that helps you get to that state that you want, and that is your meditation. All of this to say, when we go back to our original question, is meditation really necessary? Meditation, as we perceive of it as that activity of sitting still on purpose until you get to an altered state, no, that is not necessary, in my opinion. The meditative state of mind is. Getting to that state of mind is. I think the route that you take does not matter. The fact that you get there and the fact that you practice getting there until the point that you are proficient and can do that no matter what your surroundings are, practicing that discipline, that is important. Those two things, that state of mind and the ability to call it up at will, those two things are what's more important than the actual activity. So, but let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree. And that is all I have for you today. So thank you for joining me in this discussion, and I will be back soon with another video. So until then, everyone, blessed be.